We have enormous potential, but that potential is largely corrupted. All the nonsense in your life has manifested through your ignorance. You are programmed, and that prevents you from seeing your potential. It's your ignorance around you that creates it. You have no idea of the greatness of your potential, and you end up creating confusing situations and chaos. But once you are conscious, you can create much more advanced things. You only see in your environment what you create. The baby is pure, but it has the entanglements of the mother. You have to be pure beings who are not an ego to create a baby. First, it's important to work on yourself. A woman who thinks she's a mother isn't ready. She has to be a mother who has freed herself from ego and feels ready to create a baby. The being that is there knows what the next step is. That's why you don't have to get involved. The consciousness that you are already knows which direction to move in. The confusion about sexuality can be inherited from parents to children, and that too must be broken. If procreation and sexuality are mixed, it will be chaotic, and the trauma will continue. These are my observations. Full consciousness knows that it doesn't need any illusion. Everyone must free themselves from all those ideas to move on to the next step. A mother free of programming will help ensure that children are not traumatized and do not transmit trauma. These are my observations. It is the only way for humanity to change. This chain of traumatization must be broken. To do so, they must isolate themselves and dedicate themselves to themselves so that they become egoless beings. The lie that one believes about oneself is what leads one to anxiety and to live a life that is not their own. The moment you are authentic, there is peace. When you know you don't need food, you don't need money because you're happy with what you have, and you don't need love because you are already love, then you are at peace. But if you are enslaved, you will need a drug. Your peace is freedom from dependency. It really is simple. Decisions are useless. Your decisions are part of the life that has brought you to where you are. The ego can't make decisions. You don't have to get involved. Don't get involved in what's happening. Live what's happening, but don't get involved. Be happy if there's no money and no food. That's how peace comes and what you need comes. But what you want doesn't come. You shouldn't desire anything. That's the trap. In not doing, everything is done. Don't get involved in doing through the ego. When you put your hand in, you block what is naturally within you. Not doing is in the flow of life. You don't have to believe anything and do nothing. I'm inviting you to observe. If the same thing you put in your mouth is the same thing you defecate, then nutrition is a myth. It's good to believe in nothing. Don't desire anything. Desiring only involves the ego character. Not doing is observing to what degree you want to get involved with the situation or are afraid. You have to observe your fears. We have to live in society, but in a society with humans. That's a community. The ideal is 80 people where everyone knows each other and everyone supports each other. That's human life. That's how we came to live, and everyone feels that way. But you're forced to live an artificial life in the city where everything is artificial. You can see in today's children that they have high anxiety because they're forced to do things that aren't natural, and that causes a lot of anxiety, and then they become addicted. You have to observe why you're not at peace. If you seek things out, you'll never be at peace. It's very important to observe to what degree I'm not at peace. I'll need a drug if I'm not at peace. You start with intermittent fasting, which is important. The minimum for intermittent fasting is 8 hours of not eating and 16 hours of eating during the day, and then gradually reduce the hours of consumption. You have to learn to listen to yourself. But if I'm constantly listening to the noises outside, how can I hear what's inside me? Then the silence speaks. Listen to yourself and learn to hear what you feel, and from there you can follow your own rhythm in your life. If you feel that's not what you want to do, then don't do it. Many times you sacrifice yourself for your children and grandchildren, and I don't know who else. But sacrifice isn't love. That's nonsense. Many times parents sacrifice themselves for their children and create another suffering person who thinks they have to suffer. Then one unhappy person creates another unhappy person. That's why I say that procreation must occur between two conscious people, because otherwise a copy of the unhappy parent will be created. If you look for love in your partner, you're already unhappy. Obviously, today's relationships only produce unhappy children. It's hard to hear, but it's normal. Silence is important to implement in your life. Every day of your life, there should be 2 or 3 hours when I'm not going to talk. Not talking means not being distracted. You listen to yourself. On the other hand, when you hear all the noise outside, it leads you to the misery you currently live in. There is a wisdom that guides you perfectly to where you need to be, if you only allow it. You have to give that wisdom permission to guide you. It flows on its own. Some people ask me, "Is it still easy like that?" And I answer, "Yes, it is that easy." People want to complicate things and tell me I need a technique or a practice. Then I answer, none of that. Just do nothing. Stay still and observe and listen. The point of observing is really to meditate, because observing means getting to the cause-effect. Your entire life that you live is the cause of an effect. So, if you need to meditate, it means you should observe what led me to the state I'm in right now. If I'm happy, it's good to observe why I'm happy. Until I get to the cause of the state I'm in, I won't find the solution. You can observe through silence or fasting. A one-day fast, for example, with a dry fast, gives you a lot of clarity. When you feel you have a problem but aren't clear on what you have to do, then it's good to fast. Clarity comes naturally. There are many simple and inexpensive tools. There's no need to complicate your life. Patience is important. Impatience is when you want something. With peace, you will live a full life in abundance. Life is abundant. So it's clear that 8-day retreats, where 4 days of not eating and 4 days of not drinking, are useful for understanding your food addiction. Some have seen their addiction through withdrawal symptoms. There are 2-month retreats, then 2-year retreats, and then the tribe is born on its own. It's just about creating a platform where you can explore yourself. Most people are very addicted to comfort, and very few are willing to let go of the illusion. Right now, their lives don't have much or any meaning. Are you going to continue with something meaningless? Do you know what that's called? It's called stupidity. If a person keeps doing the same thing but expects a change, that's called stupidity. I'm sorry for using that word, but nothing will change if you keep doing the same thing and expect a change. That's right. I can only see change if I change. At the moment, I'm willing to change. That's also an invitation to change. Because if you continue your unhappiness with another drug, you're still in the same situation. It's better to understand why I'm unhappy. Obviously, with ego, you're doing something you don't want to do. You have to be authentic. Children are authentic and don't pretend. Parents tell them not to say this or that, and then children learn to be someone they don't want to be and deceive themselves and lie. All of this inevitably causes anxiety. That's why you have to learn to be authentic again. Learn to say, no, I don't want that. Be honest and direct. Maybe you won't attract many friends by being honest, but that doesn't matter. I'm happy feeling honest with myself. I don't want to seek out friends who are false friends. Authenticity is the hardest thing because we were programmed to be liars, and even more liars to ourselves. That's what's hard for us, to be honest with ourselves. This is an illusion. To be at peace, you have to let go of everything. You have to observe your attachments. Why do you hold on to something? You hold on to something because you think you need that, but in reality, you don't need anything. If you think you need money or are afraid of money, it would be interesting to take a week-long hike through humble places. There, without money or anything, you'll see humble people at peace. Trust is based on the fact that there's a guide inside me. You have to trust. But if you have that fear, how are you going to get rid of it if you never confront it? It's like letting go of belief. Because it's an illusion, it's really useless to believe in illusions. I started fasting 15 years ago, and it wasn't easy. In the end, I realized I want a memory of my childhood when I consumed something, but why do I want a memory? What state am I in? And so, all those cravings go away on their own. That intermittent fasting, for example, when you were used to eating 4 times a day, and once you incorporate fasting, you reduce your consumption to twice a day and you're fine. Then it works. Gradually, I understand a little more and let go of things, less and less. For example, you reduce the number of meals per day until you only eat 1 meal a day. Then you eat every other day, or you only eat fruit. And it gets simpler and simpler. because if you have to cook, it's a waste of time. Eating fruit is much easier. Life can be easy and simple with just fruit, but of course, if you're used to your recipes, that's just stimulation. The drug works through stimulation, which has an emotional reason behind everything. You want to be stimulated. If, for example, you get a craving for ice cream, it may be more likely after an argument with your partner or your children. An emotional problem leads you to food again. Through observation, one can better understand what is happening. Without worrying about what happened, simply observe so that next time one can approach the same situation from a different perspective. And so, gradually, effortlessly, one releases the dependence. The dependence on food is eliminated if you are happy eating fruit from time to time. I like it best when you pick a fruit from a tree like in the jungle, not with anxiety. If something good comes, it's perfect, and if not, I'm also calm. Right now, I live without anything. So that's how I live. I live without attachments. You can enjoy the illusion, but only when you're not attached. When you depend on food, you can't truly enjoy food because it's your drug. When you enjoy your fasting days, you can also enjoy your non-fasting days. It's a game of liberation. For me, happiness is peace. I'm happy not wanting any of the illusion. You seek happiness, that means you're unhappy. But if you're at peace with yourself and your surroundings, you can be anywhere. Seeking a higher being is a huge folly. The one seeking is the ego. In the silence you listen within, you know. Not what others have sold you outside, but rather learn to listen to what your needs are. You are the source. Yes, God is the source. How is the source? Believing in God. The source, believing in the source. The confusion of religions, causing chaos. You are a pitiful worm and God is a higher being. The moment you let go of all that, you surrender without having sought it. You don't recognize your distraction with your ego. Beauty is all around you, all the time. God is within you, within each one of us. But it is locked away if you are in your ego. That's why you have to learn not to do anything. Your being has an intention, but that intention will manifest if you allow it to manifest. For example, this meeting manifested at this moment. Peace is that you don't matter to me. Whether you continue with your drugs or not, it doesn't matter to me. I am sharing with you unconditionally. I am taking care of myself. I am here because I want to remember that deep down, your being already knows. For the ego, perhaps I am speaking something new. You can enjoy life. It is good to understand to what degree I enjoy life, as a distraction, as a necessity, or as a game. When you don't eat, you don't sleep as much. You lie down to rest instead of sleeping. I rested in the jungle while observing it. My body was tired, so I rested, but I didn't sleep. The body lies down and you rest, but you remain in the present observation. Life is so beautiful, and I also want to enjoy every situation I experience. I even like to experience the feeling of tiredness. You don't have to pay much attention to the dreams that arise because dreams are very easily manipulated. What you are imagining also comes to mind. Dreams can be mixed. You can observe the dream, but don't classify it as a message or as the future. Just enjoy it. Dreams can be so mixed with what you have seen during the day and all that mixture. When you are fasting, dreams are clearer. If you stop eating after 5 p.m., then your sleep will no longer be so disturbed. I don't make much of a fuss about what I'm observing or dreaming. Death is nothing more than changing bodies. But you have to break out of that circle. It means that if you die right now, you have to come back. To break out of the matrix, you have to free yourself on this physical plane. You have the ability to enter and exit as you please, but you, as an ego, can't do that. The solution is to do nothing. Your being knows what to do because it's surely happened that others have already broken out, so the information on how to break out of the matrix is there, but you only have access to that information as an egoless being. Breaking out of the circle is only here. Why do they try so hard to lull you to sleep and distract you? Because they're afraid you'll break out. But when you're dead, you have to come back. The mind is part of the spirit. Mind and spirit are similar. Spirit is also body. So the body is part of the matrix. You have to understand that on the Matrix platform you can only see 0.5%. So all the entities are here, but you can't see them. There are no other dimensions. The other entities are here. Dimensions mean space, and space means weight. So everyone here, visible or invisible, has a mass, a weight. Because if they don't have a space, there is no separation. Do I make myself understood? There is an invisible space and they've trapped us here, but you allow them to imprison your soul. So you have to reflect on the degree to which I support the system. Every time I follow the structure of the system, I am complicit in the system. Thus I collaborate so my master can buy a bigger whip. Change only occurs when you change. The only way is to not need anything from the system. The moment you need something from the system, you are trapped. Why do you want to live in a place where you are unhappy? The problem is wanting to know. I know it's still difficult to understand. The world of illusion has already been explored. The ego must be set aside, because if it takes control by exploring, it blocks the being. Your being can access the universal mind, then knowledge can be obtained from the information there, and there's no need to explore. There's no need to explore something that's already known. Training isn't about exploring outside, but rather exploring inside. That's the work of the tribe. Outside is only illusion. If everything has already been explored, why continue exploring the illusion? Once you discover that outside in the city, you are a slave. In the tribe, commitment and service to humanity are required. Then come the 2-year retreats. After those 2-year retreats, the tribe will emerge. Because afterward, they'll take all your money, all your food. The world will be chaotic. The upcoming show will be a little worse than the vaccine. The point is that humans must first learn to serve selflessly and learn to live with other humans. Life is nomadic without attachments. It's a different life. But human life has always been nomadic. We've been forced to live in cities and everything artificial, but we have to return to where we came from and play happily again.